say that I've cried. I've had my moments. I've, argued with God. God is my father. You know what I mean? And so we have that relationship. I'm a disobedient child. I'm not perfect. You know what I mean? I have times where I know I'm doing wrong and I need to do right. But he is my father and I am his daughter. And so we fight, I argue with God and then he puts me on my butt and then I, say I'm sorry. But I do think that he has a plan for me. But there has been times where I'll go and say, I'm that child where I ask why. You know what I mean? I've always been that child, even with my physical parent, who was my mother, growing up. I was always that child who needed to know why things happen or why things are a certain way or, I grew up and found that the reason I've always been that why child is I love economics in high school. It tells me how things work, why things happen, and so forth. But as far as the strength goes and where I think it's, coming from, I think it's because I've always known that this is not the plan. This is not the end of what God has for me. If anything, it's just the beginning. He's just preparing me for what I'm set out to do. And so I've always defined that strength as a gift from God. And so I do recall being about 7, 8 years old when I really took a look around me and saw that I am living in poverty. Like this is not how life is supposed to be. You know what I mean? I really remembered as if it was today that I stepped back and I was standing, we lived in East Point, Georgia. And I remember just being outside hungry. And I didn't really know where my mom was at. My mom worked, she worked jobs and stuff here and there. And I just remember my mom wasn't home. And I think my grandmother was in the house. And I'm standing outside and I'm just like, this is not it. This is not the life that I am supposed to have. I am destined for more. I am supposed to be great. I can feel it inside of me. And so from that moment on, I always knew that God had a plan for my life. Because things were too bad. There's no way that a child can go through all of these things, you know what I mean, without reaping some type of benefit from it. And so that's the way I saw things. Like, how is this possible? How is it that I keep hitting these roadblocks? Oh my God, every time I'm excited about something, even the cake, you know what I mean? How is it that everything results in a disappointment? When the beauty of it is that God was just preparing me to handle disappointments. When we were at church, when Pastor Kenyon was talking about yak yards, God was just giving me my yak yards. He was just saying, you're going to get hit, you're going to get knocked down, but how far are you going to go after that? And that right there, when I heard that, I was just like, oh, I got my yak yards up. You know what I mean? I got that. I got those yards. That yardage going. So.
Did you hear the sermon when they were talking about the? It was one 2 weeks ago, I think, with the guest speaker, when he was talking about the people that are stronger, the endurance test.
Oh, definitely. Mm-hmm. I bawled at church. I think people around me thought maybe I lost a loved one or something, because that's how hard I was crying. I had like the snot dripping and rags and oh my God. Because I'm actually reading his book right now. And so it has some insight. And it's funny because when I was sitting there writing these words down, I kid you not, these are words that were coming to me previously. These were words that I had written down on notepads and trying to get better understanding of, where is this coming from? Like, he used words like endurance, and how he was saying that our struggles gives us, endurance and so forth. And that's what I mean as far as longevity. It gives me like I'm a vet in the game. You know what I mean? It makes me feel like I'm a vet in the game when it comes to struggles and strife and things like that. When I'm talking to these kids, they got to understand they're talking to a vet. So don't come at me with no, craziness or I can't or why you can't or anything. Because if anything, we're going to find a reason why you can't. And so that's that. When he was talking about endurance and so forth, that's what it gives you. That's what these struggles give you. You know what I mean? It builds you to last. Like, what is it? One of the commercials, Built to Last. you know, and that's how I feel. I feel
Fork
like
trucks.
yeah, exactly, with the trucks and so forth. I feel like my whole makeup was building me to last. You know, for just about everything that I've been through, from the fact, you know, it's so many things I know that we're going to talk about, and I don't want to jump, but just from my childhood to certain things that I went through, with whether it was relationship rise, marriage, losing a sister, you know what I mean, during that time, and still trying to get a master's degree, you know what I mean, like my sister passed, I'm planning a funeral, yet I'm taking a final for a master's degree. And so without those things happening as a child, and he was building me to last, you know what I mean, and then even up to my sister passing away during a master's program and trying to better my education, that was still part of that endurance test, you know what I mean? He was building me to become stronger, built to last, so that when I come in front of these group of individuals, of whoever God turns over to me, I'm built to last.
What was your sister's name?
Maya.
Maya. Tell me about Maya, because, you know, I only know Allie and Amber. I don't know.
Okay, so Maya is my oldest sister. My mother gave birth to 5 girls. Total of us, it's 8. I have 3 sisters on my father's side, which is a whole nother story within itself. But my mother birthed 5 girls, and Maya was the oldest of my mom's 5 girls. And so growing up, Maya was me. You know, she was me. You know, she was me. But it's the way that my mother raised us. Because, like, aside from all of the struggles and things like that, the one thing that my family has had and still have to this day, no matter where we're at, we have that family connection. You know, the South, the upbringings and things like that. And so she was that older sister where if I say you can't go outside, you're not going outside. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. She'll pop us on the forehead. She'll, you know what I mean? She was mean growing up. Like, she really was. Like, well, I remember one time she came over and had a box of Cheez-Its. I'm hungry. I haven't had no Cheez-Its. I mean, Cheez-Its was like the heaven of snacks at that time. You know what I mean? Especially when you don't have no food. You see a box of Cheez-Its, you want some. And so I asked my sister, can I have some Cheez-Its? And she said, some. 1, 2. That's some. And I had to tell that story just so she could understand how Maya was growing up. But she was hilarious. But as we grew older, our relationship developed into something beautiful. I mean, all of us, from top to bottom. I'm the youngest of 5 girls, of 8 girls. But with my my mother's children, I'm the youngest of 5. And so Maya became more than just a sister, you know what I mean? All of my sisters we have such a strong bond. Like, the bond between sisters is something amazing. It's something that I can't explain. I feel like I'm not whole without all of us. I feel like I'm a part of 5. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so without Maya, it turned my world upside down. She was my confidant. She was my best friend. I can talk to her about anything. If me and my sister Amber or Kiana or Takia was fighting, we both like, I'm about to call Maya. And now Maya on the phone with both of us. She would never say she was on the phone with one of us to each other, but she'll be telling us something, then she on the other line telling us, you know what I mean? But she was always that middle ground, that mean. She was that big sister. And so through my adult life, Maya was my biggest cheerleader. Maya believed that I can rule this world. If I went to Maya and said, Maya, I decide I'm about to be president, she would be out there in the corner with signs saying vote for Summer. She would support anything that I said I was going to do, just out of a whim. She believed in me so much, more than I believed in myself. And so I say that and I get chills because it still amazes me. And that's what keeps me going. It amazes me how much she believed in me. And so I remember I came to her one day and said, I'm going to be a caterer. And she said, okay. She said, okay. So I started doing this catering business. I had just had my son, and I was just looking for something to do. And just because you can cook does not mean you should be a caterer. I'm going to let you know that right now. And I can cook. I cook very well. But I decided I'm going to start this catering business, and she was right there with me. And it's so funny to me because she would never tell me I couldn't do anything. She was my biggest cheerleader. I don't care what it is that I set out to do. She would say, okay, I'll be there for you. So I started getting these catering gigs and things like that, like little baby showers here and stuff. And she would be right there. Maya was the main one doing all the cooking. I just had that business mentality. You know what I mean? My undergraduate to my graduate degree was business. And so I'm always thinking entrepreneur. Let's try it and see what happens. But she would never tell me that I couldn't do it. Like, it's like, what is wrong with you? Like, why do you believe in me so much? And so that was our relationship to the point where
what called her away? What called her away?
Neural cancer.
How was the process?
It went from, the process was crazy because my sister was someone who I hated one of my jobs. I was in the financial sector for a long time, and I just have to, talk to you a little bit about this because this is showing how much our relationship had developed. I called Maya every morning on the way to work and cried, and she would cry with me. Never, not one day did she say, oh my God, why are you calling me again? You know what I mean? Every morning on my way on the freeway, I would call my mom and say good morning, and then I would spend about 20 minutes commuting on the phone with her. I don't want to go to work. I hate this job. It became routine. And she would always pick up, and she would pray with me, and she would cry with me. If I cried, she cried. She would never say, suck it up or anything. And so